All right, let's get right into it. The man's name is Frank Lucas, and in the early 1970s, he was running the New York drug trade, pulling in, get this, $1 million a day. A single day. And the whole key to his empire was that he was completely invisible. Law enforcement, they had no idea who he was. He was a ghost. But that all changed because of one single catastrophic mistake.
See, his ego just got the better of him. He'd see these other, smaller players flaunting their money, and it drove him nuts. He actually wrote in his memoir that he couldn't stand people making less than him acting like they were on top of the world. He just had to show everyone who the real king was.
Okay, so this is a classic pride before the fall situation. The guy's making $1 million a day, totally off the grid, but he's getting jealous of small-timers? That seems kind of short-sighted.
Oh, massively. And it all came to a head on one specific night, March 8th, 1971. It was the fight of the century, Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier at Madison Square Garden.
This was the night he decided to stop being a ghost. He strolled in wearing a $50,000 chinchilla coat with a matching hat. He had better seats than Frank Sinatra, for crying out loud. And just like that, every single cop in that arena was asking the exact same question. Who is that guy? He put a giant fur-lined target right on his own back. And not long after that, he was investigated, arrested, and sentenced to 70 years in prison. Wait. A coat? A single coat brought down his entire empire? That is insane. All that work, all that secrecy, completely undone by a fashion choice. And get this, that $50,000 coat from 1971, in today's money, it's worth close to $1 million. So just try to imagine walking into a public event wearing a literal $1 million price tag. You're not just there to watch the fight anymore, you've made yourself the main event.
Right? But this story isn't just about some crime lord. The book uses this really extreme example to illustrate a hidden force that affects all of us, something it calls social debt.
Social debt? Okay, that sounds ominous. It's definitely not a Mike credit card statement, so what exactly is it?
Well, it's more of a psychological liability. The book defines it as this invisible burden you take on when your spending habits change how other people see you, and, this is crucial, how you see yourself. It's the cost that never, ever shows up on a spreadsheet.
So think about it this way. Financial assets are simple, right? You can measure them, you can put them on a spreadsheet. Social debt is the total opposite. It's hidden. It's the jealousy you create, the unwanted expectations from your friends and family, the slow erosion of your own privacy. Okay. So it's like a hidden tax on being flashy. The more you show off, the more you end up owing in these weird social ways. Frank Lucas's coat cost him $1 million, sure, but the social debt it racked up cost him his freedom. I get it now.
Okay, but Frank Lucas was a drug lord. That's a pretty extreme case. Does this whole social debt thing really apply to, normal people who aren't breaking the law for a living?
Oh, absolutely. The book points out there's a really clear pattern here. I mean, look at lottery winners. The second their name goes public, they are just crushed by social debt. Friends, family, total strangers, they all feel entitled to a piece of it. Their privacy vanishes overnight, and so many of them end up bankrupt, not just from their own spending, but from the immense pressure of everyone else's expectations. Or take NBA rookies. The book points out that when a lot of these young guys get a multi-million-dollar contract, they don't go broke buying fancy cars for themselves. No, they go broke buying modest houses for 10 different relatives because they feel this obligation to support everyone. When you come from nothing, that new wealth isn't just yours, it belongs to the whole community. That is a crushing social debt.
And it's not even just about the money. For someone like Tiger Woods, the social debt he carries is the complete loss of his own anonymity. The book mentions he loves scuba diving. Why? Because it's the only place on Earth where no one recognizes him or wants something from him.
Wow. So at the billionaire level, it's not even about money anymore. The debt you owe is your own freedom and anonymity. He has to literally go underwater to escape the social debt of just being Tiger Woods. That's a really powerful idea.
Exactly. And if you think this is just a problem for the ultra-rich and famous, you gotta think again. In our world today, this trap is everywhere, and it is amplified 1,000 times over. Frank Lucas's code has nothing on what we deal with now.
Oh, for sure, I can totally see that. Every time you open Instagram, it's just a fire hose of social debt. People posting their watches, their vacations, their crypto gains. It's all just the 21st century version of the Chinchilla coat, isn't it?
It is. It creates this constant nagging pressure to signal success to keep up. You're not just buying a thing anymore, you're buying into an image that you now have to maintain. And that maintenance, that's the debt.
And it's not just external pressure either. The book has this great analogy about the Amtrak silent car. You know, people go in there for peace and quiet, but because they expect perfect silence, every tiny little cough or whisper drives them absolutely crazy. It's the same with luxury. You buy a nice car and suddenly a tiny scratch that you'd never even have noticed on your old car becomes this source of major anxiety. Your own expectations become the trap. Okay, I get it. I'm sold. Showing off is dangerous for my wallet and for my sanity. So how do I actually use this tomorrow? What's the strategy? How do I avoid this trap without having to, live like a monk? The book actually lays out a super clear 3-step strategy. First, you have to define your own version of enough. You need to operate on your own inner scorecard, not the external one that social media is constantly shoving in your face. Second, stop performing. Before you buy something, ask yourself, am I buying this to actually improve my life, or am I buying it to manage someone else's impression of my life? And third, this is the big one, aim to be rich and anonymous. Treat your privacy and your freedom as your most valuable assets, way more valuable than your car or your watch.
Rich and anonymous. I really like the sound of that. It's basically the exact opposite of Frank Lucas.
It's the ultimate power move. It's that whole quiet compounding idea. You hear those stories about the janitor or the secretary who passes away and leaves behind $7 million and everyone's shocked. Why? Because they lived a life with zero social debt. And to take that to the absolute extreme, the book talks about a family the author consulted for who are worth $8 billion. $8 billion. And if you Google their name, you find nothing. No Forbes profile, no party photos, zip. They designed their life that way. They have all the money in the world with none of the social debt. That's total freedom.
It really all boils down to this quote from Naval Ravikant that the author uses to wrap it up. The best state is to be rich and anonymous. It's not about having the flashiest coat in the room. It's about having the freedom to not even be in that room at all, unless you truly want to be. The ultimate luxury isn't the chinchilla coat. It's the ability to be a ghost. That is real wealth.